Howard Lutnick had said that he had cut off ties with Jeffrey Epstein in 2005, but the documents that came out contradict that. Democrats and Thomas Massie say he should resign. Do you think that Howard Lutnick should resign?
Of course not. It's absurd. Howard Lutnick is a great Commerce Secretary. He's done an extraordinary job for the country, and Thomas Massie should stop playing political games.
Do you have any concerns about Lutnick's ties with Epstein?
I don't know anything about that. I know Howard as an individual, and I trust his word on it. I mean, I don't know of the timing and all that. I'm not sure. You have to ask others.
So a couple of little issues there, a couple little lies there. First of all, that Howard Lutnick is doing a great job, either substantively or in terms of the media narrative around the economy. He seems to be doing a pretty bad job. The second thing is that he doesn't know anything about it. Mike Johnson, you don't know anything about the fact that the Commerce Secretary blatantly lied about going to Epstein Island. You don't know about that. By the way, if you don't know about that, get that guy out of that position. I mean, what the hell are you doing? Howard Lutnick's an incredibly powerful member of the Trump administration, and you just missed it. You've been busy with other stuff. You guys are hauling in Bill and Hillary Clinton to testify, implying that you're taking all this seriously and you're worried about elites, and yet you don't know about Howard Lutnick. And also, I know him personally, so I trust his word. I almost dropped an F-bomb. What the hell are you talking about? You trust his word? You were just told he lied about going to Epstein Island. I wouldn't have trusted his word before that. I'm damn sure not gonna trust his word after I found out that he brought his 4 kids to the pedophiles for lunch. And yet Mike Johnson doesn't think, oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to imply that a person that lied about going to Epstein Island should have any consequences whatsoever. And I guess I feel ridiculous. I feel like a goof about everything that we've been doing this past year, because we've been wanting to find out more about people's potential ties to Epstein. And it'll be like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Well, they could have like a bunch of emails with Epstein. That would be really bad. Oh my God, they could have business ties with Epstein. That would be really bad. Oh my God, maybe they went on his plane. I didn't realize, no, screw all that. You can skip all that. Literally, it doesn't matter if they went to his island after he was convicted of solicitation or whatever it was in 2008. I guess we could just speed run the entire thing. There's literally nothing that could have happened for it to matter if it's a Republican that did it. But meanwhile, Bill Clinton's in the files, so he has to be dragged in. Not Donald Trump though, even though he's in the files literally more than 1 million times. So it really seems like it's less about what has actually been revealed and more about who it's been revealed about. That's the way it's feeling to me. But just in case Mike Johnson's watching, let's catch him up a little bit on what Lutnick had originally said and what's now been revealed.
The best of my memory, I met him when he moved next door to me, and I met him 2 other times in 14 years, none within 6 years of that first meeting, and then a year and a half later, and none thereafter. And in the presence of my wife, I did not have anything you could call a relationship, anything you could call an acquaintance. I literally met him 3 times over 14 years with widespread in between. I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife.
Did I mention that I brought my kids? Wait, should I have mentioned that I brought my kids? Is it a bad look to bring your kids to have lunch with a pedophile? That's interesting, but it's not a big deal. Everybody get off my back. It's not like I have a personal relationship with him. I just take my yacht to his island for lunch because I was crossing on a vacation. What are you talking? Are you implying that island wasn't your destination? It was just on the way to a different island you were going to? You massive freaking liar. Jeez, I don't know. Of all of the lies that could be exposed, that you lied about going to Epstein Island feels like the most significant, Sharon, and yet we're supposed to just move on because this guy is, after all, in the Trump administration and he is rich. How dare we have an issue with it? We should just go back to protecting the elites who are partying with Epstein. What do you think?
Well, and he's not just rich. Of course, he's part of the stinking filthy rich, the upper echelon of rich. And he's a massive liar. But these are evil people. And another way we can tell that is that he had all the money, a yacht, all the nannies that he's talking about, like, you or I are just living that kind of life and should understand. And he's talking about pulling his yacht up, living next door to Epstein, and yet he still has to be in power. He still has to be this, he has to, I'll put in air quotes, work in the Trump administration and be close to power so that he can take more. That's how sick these people are. He could afford to go anywhere in the world. Yet he took his nannies, his wife, his children, and they decided, well, I think we'll just stumble upon Epstein Island and eat there for a little bit. And then years later, I'll lie about it. These are really bad people. They're actually bad people.
Yeah, no, they're horrific people. They're the worst people. Who thinks he loaded up his private boat and went all the way out to a separate island for a 1-hour lunch? Who the hell
now
thinks
he's Gilligan. That? Yeah, he just stumbled
exactly.
upon it.
By the way, if you think that that's possible of someone, why would you think it's possible for the guy who lied about the entire trip to begin with? Why would you ever be so stupid, foolish, gullible to extend him any credibility for anything that he said? Absolutely absurd. And remember, they did not want this to come out. The only reason we found out about this is because that we've all kept pushing. Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, Raskin, all of them. He was not going to offer this up. He was given many opportunities, and he lied, and he lied, and he lied, and he lied. And imagine if it was Hunter Biden that had told the exact same goddamn lies. Imagine what Fox News would be saying about him right now. But it's not him. It's Lutnick. And weirdly, the Trump administration doesn't seem to have much of a problem with it. Karoline Leavitt was asked if Donald Trump stands with Howard Lutnick after we found out that he lied about going to Epstein Island. And this is what she had to say.
Does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now? Or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. I will just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about.
Yeah, why aren't you guys talking about like us canceling the bridge or something? America first. Why are you focusing on the fact that a member of the cabinet lied about partying with a notorious sex predator after he'd already gone to prison for being a sex predator? That's weird that you would focus on that. We totally wouldn't have focused on that if Biden was still in charge. So anyway, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's insane. How are the QAnoners melting down over this right now? But we already know the answer. It's because it's a Republican, and so they don't care. And we're certainly not getting any answers about all this from Howard Lutnick. He was like walking through the halls of Congress or whatever after his hearing, and his security detail was dispatched to get the pesky reporters out of his way. How dare you think that you could ask a question? This guy's super rich, don't you know that? He can party with pedophiles if he wants. Get out of here, you pesky media. So anyway, it seems like a lot of people in the Trump administration don't like Lutnick. Apparently they say the knives are out for him. He's despised by nearly everyone, but Trump still likes him. And take a look at this, the way they explain why Trump won't do anything. I doubt Trump would easily push him out though. The president doesn't wanna legitimize the Epstein issue too much. He doesn't wanna legitimize it because it's not, in his eyes, legitimate right now. It's just a distraction. Oh, my best friend for 2 decades is tied to all the other people that I love and are super loyal to me. And I don't want anyone to come to the conclusions that's like a big deal or a bad thing, Sharon. Again, there have been some right wingers that have distanced themselves from Trump on this issue, but it is insane to me that they have not been calling for him to be booted out as every one of these extra details have come out.
And see, that's just it. It was just like when he posted, or someone posted, the Obamas as apes the other day. I don't want to hear these people, these Republicans who are calling it out. Same thing here. Distance yourself. Say, I'm done supporting you. But they'll never, ever do that. And by the way, I'd like for Congress, it's probably not fair to call the nannies in. that Howard Lutnick was talking about. I'd like to know what they saw on Epstein Island. I hope that, nothing terrible happened to them, but there's so much more to learn here. And if the people in the administration hate Lutnick, and look who's in the administration filled with, the woman who was just talking, and then there's Stephen Miller and a bunch of other creeps, and they can't stand him. Again, what does that say about this guy? And you still won't boot him out of there? No, because he could probably say he probably knows where all the quote bodies are buried. Okay. The ones that we don't know about. He's probably the bone collector and says, well, I'm not going down. He's going to go down with me.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to deal for literally years with all of these insane people telling us there's a cabal or a cable, depending on the right winger, of they're protecting the elites. They don't want justice. They want to protect the elites. This is literally that. And they don't seem to care.